'cause showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know. Now it's showtime.
The madness of King Trump is playing out in real time. Where and how will it end? And will anybody stop him? We're going to talk about that. And Mickey Rourke has made an announcement about his GoFundMe. What does he have to say? We'll tell you. And so much more.
Now it's showtime.
All right, it is the Karelcast. I am Karel. So very glad you are joining me. Let's see if I get hacked by who knows who today. Or if the show actually plays out the way it's supposed to. We shall see. I am so very glad you are joining me today, though. Today, January 6th, certainly a day that will live in infamy. 5 years ago, we sat there. Can you believe it was 5 years ago? 5 years ago, we sat there and watched while treason played out on live television. And now not only is the person that perpetrated the treason back in office, but the Democrats are actually trying to make a congressional bill that none of the January 6th rioters will get cash payouts from the government for their pain and suffering of committing treason. And, you know, this morning alone, I've had two very jarring conversations with family members who they don't know what to do. You got Trump out there taking over Venezuela. Now they're making very real threats towards Cuba and Greenland. Two countries that are not ours, and they're not ours to have. But more importantly, you have a president that promised to be America first, who has now made a complete 180 pivot from that, and has announced, both himself and Stephen Miller have announced that it is their intention to take over the entire Western Hemisphere. Now, on this day of treason, let me just say that that's what dictators do. That's not normal U.S. presidential talk. That is the talk of dictators. And it has become painfully clear that Trump wants a world order of Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and himself. 3 large countries, 3 dictators, running it all. He's made it very, very, very clear that that's what he wants. Now, the media is not doing their job, particularly CBS, which has now become an arm of the White House. This new anchor they have for the evening news did a half hour with Peter Hegseth, unchallenged. Just let him. It was like a press release for the White House. And so we have media not doing its job. We have the Democrats in the House and Senate not doing their job and acting completely powerless. And we have the Republicans siding with a dictator. And so I don't know how to sit here on this day where treason was committed 5 years ago. Unpunished treason. Treason that has been rewarded. Treason just didn't happen January 6th. It has been rewarded. The person that perpetrated the treason is back in office, making millions of dollars. Do you know who he consulted before he went to Venezuela? Not Congress, not the American people who were going to pay for it, oil executives. He had a meeting with oil executives. And do you know why? Because Venezuela sells oil using the euro. The only thing that props up the American economy is that OPEC sells oil in the dollar. Maduro wouldn't. So whoever Trump installs in Venezuela will switch their oil sales to the US dollar. This is all about him making money, not us, not our country, but him and his billionaire cronies. And the question becomes, where and how does this end? You know, where and how does this end? Or does it? Are we entering a multi-year, very dark period where America, as we know it, as a constitutional republic, slips away and gets replaced with a dictatorship because no one will stand up to this man. The Danes have already said, if he takes Greenland, and Stephen Miller said on television, who's going to stop us? That's what he said. He said, if the U.S. wants to take Greenland, who's going to stop us? That's fascism. It is happening. It is happening now. And no one is having the right conversations about stopping it. Why? They're afraid.
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes, at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
You know, at what point do we start talking about his removal from office either peacefully or through a coup or a revolution? I mean, our founders would have already told us that it is time to remove Trump and his cabinet and all of the Republican senators, congresspeople, and Supreme Court justices. Now, you hear the word coup and you think about other countries. Well, since he has now turned us into one of those other countries, we really need to start talking about a coup. We need to align officers in the military, generals in the military that would step up and remove Trump, his cabinet, and the Republican senators, House and Senate members. And you're like, Karel, that's just ridiculous talk. Is it? What other way do you see to save America? And I'm being serious. I'd just as soon leave. And I'm certainly not going to pick up arms against this government. And I know you're not going to pick up arms against this government. It would have to be military leaders who resist his orders and then remove him. Coups are always carried out by military. It would have to be military members. There aren't any that are going to do it. So Congress will not impeach, and the military will not stage a coup. So what's going to happen to America? I hate to tell you this. I'm tired of saying the same thing every day. I'm just going to tell you, we're done. We're done. Barring another country removing him from office like he just did Maduro, barring our military staging a coup and refusing his orders and taking him out of office, and barring our Congress prior to the midterms doing something, the United States is done as a constitutional republic. He is going to behave like a fascist dictator. He is going to continue on a journey of conquest. He'll take Greenland. He'll take Cuba. He'll probably take Colombia. And then he'll try to take something that some other country doesn't want him to and get us into a world war. This is where the United States is going. So it's like I told my sister, what do we do now? I say we tune out. I know you're going to be like, what? But how does it do us any good every day to sit here and be furious at what he's doing? How does that help us in any way, in your own personal life? I'm 63. With the grace of Buddha, Allah, Yahweh, whomever, I maybe have 30 years left. Of those, about 15 will just be aging, because we can't all be Cher. And 15 will be, until I'm about 75, I can be active and traveling and being an entertainer and everything. And then after 75, you slow down. So I've got 12 good years to actually live a life before I have to slow down and think of retiring. And can I do that in the United States? And you need to ask yourself that same question. Can I do that? Now, look, I know that Mexico has now been threatened, so going to Puerto Vallarta or Merida might not be the best idea. Lisbon still sounds good. Uruguay, Montevideo still sounds good. There are places that he's not going to touch. They'll be touched by what he does, but he and the United States aren't talking about invading Uruguay or invading, Portugal. So I know that, look, the Jews, when they knew that it was over, they left, and some of them just left with the clothes on their backs. Now, I know a lot of you don't want to think about that, but how bad? I want to hear your comments down below, and I want to see your comments in the chat room at youtube.com/reallykarel. How bad does it have to get before you actually say, I really need to think about staying here? We can apply to other countries for asylum. And if he keeps going the way that he's going, other countries that have asylum programs will probably accept us. And how much money do you need? You could move with 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Look, if you remain a dual citizen of the United States, you're still going to get your Social Security or your pensions. It's not like you're renouncing your American citizenship if you move somewhere. I think that I would like to move in the next 3 months and stay somewhere else until after the midterms, because I don't want to be here with him continuing to take our country off the rails. And that's what he's done. Now, Mike Johnson could step in. The Congress could step in and defund him and say, you can't attack Greenland. We're not going to pay for it. You can't attack Cuba. We're not going to pay for it. They could rescind the War Powers Act and give him zero authority to launch without Congress. Are they going to have the courage to do this? Are they going to actually stand for America instead of stand for Trump? There really does need to be a loyalty test. Are you loyal to America, or are you loyal to Trump? Cherokee in the chat room says, I don't think I can afford to leave. Well, no, you've got a new Siamese kitty to take care of. She adopted a blind Siamese kitty. What a nice woman to do that, to take a handicapped cat. That is an older handicapped cat. I mean, just a nice person. What a nice person to do that. I'd say Trump went too far, but he went too far long ago. Yes. I feel paralyzed. We all do. We all do. He's also spoken about taking Mexico. Yes, he has. Now, that could be our hope. Mexican cartels are very powerful. Very powerful. They could take out an American president. They could. But the problem isn't just him. It's Stephen Smith. It's Peter Hegseth. It's Kristi Noem. It's Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell kissed so much Donald Trump ass a few days ago, I swear to God, he should have them surgically attached to his asshole. I know that Mitch McConnell likes to rim guys, but did he have to rim the president right there in front of everybody? Because he did. He stuck his tongue so far up Donald Trump's ass that he could taste his liver. I mean, it was disgusting. And Lindsey Graham openly said, we're open for taking Cuba. Can you imagine that kind of conversation just a decade ago? And he's one man that no one is stopping. Why? Because the people that could stop him, the moneyed interest in this country, are making money. Donald Trump invested 4 weeks before he removed Maduro. He invested in a company that buys oil and minerals from Venezuela. He stands to make millions of dollars. Trump's cabinet and their family members made millions of dollars on this futures app, an app where you can bet on various things that are going to happen in the future. And they bet on the day that Maduro was going to be removed. And they won millions of dollars. He is enriching his economy and the economy of his friends while we suffer. And we are suffering. Consumer prices are soaring. Businesses are closing. The housing market is starting to tank. Social programs are being cut. We are suffering. And while we suffer, his friends and him prosper. And like I said, there's only 3 ways this ends. Trump dies of natural causes because he's old and sick. The military removes him in a coup, or Congress gets rid of him, or acts like Congress and stops funding all of his foibles. Those are the only 3 ways this ends. You can call as many, my sister said, I call my Congress people, I even call the Republican ones. If you have to call a Republican or a Democratic lawmaker to tell them what's going on is wrong, you've already lost. Because they don't care. If they cared, they would have put an end to this. They're not suddenly going to care because all of their constituents call them and say, we don't want this to happen. They don't care. They're making money. They have power. That's all they want. They don't want for you or I to have a happy life. They don't care if you or I have a happy life. Gay people are seeing there's a gay guy on social media on New Year's Eve. He got harassed in a bathroom. Why? Because he was wearing makeup. He's a man in a man's bathroom. But because he's got makeup on, he was openly harassed. Why? Because Trump and MAGA have emboldened that kind of behavior. They are the worst of humanity, and they have made the worst the norm. Donald Trump and MAGA have made it normal for horrible human beings to have an opinion, to be in public, and to get what they want. And so I really ask you, what are we doing here? What are you and I doing in the United States? We're suffering. My sister said to me today that some days she thinks, why even bother waking up, because it's going to get worse. She's 69. She's going to be 70. She lives off $843 a month, period. Because that's all the Social Security from her dead husband pays her. And she was a housewife and mother and never paid into Social Security. She lives on less than $1,000 a month. She owns her manufactured home, but if she sold it, she wouldn't clear enough to clear out. Today, she was talking about, well, I have a motorcycle I could sell for $7,000, and I have the. She was literally taking stock of how much she would get from selling her belongings so she could flee to Mexico. These are the conversations, because we can't do anything. 10 million of us could march on DC. It would change nothing. The only thing now that is going to change what is happening is one of 3 things. Trump dies of natural causes, a coup happens, or another country, attacks us and removes him, or Congress does their job. Which of those 3 things do you think is more likely? Is he going to die of natural causes? And then we get President J.D. Vance? Is the military going to actually do a coup? Is Congress going to finally step forward and do their job? Do you see any of that happening? Let's see what's happening in the chat room. We've got a bunch of people there at youtube.com/Really Karel. I don't have the energy to move. I barely have the energy to get dressed each day. Yep. I feel enraged. We all do. I absolutely agree, Granny. I do too. I don't think we'll be that lucky, Karel. We're all paralyzed, even Congress. Yup. So I heard something very chilling in a documentary. It was a documentary about the Norway killing where the guy went to the island and killed all those kids at camp. He said on the stand, when you point a gun at someone, they don't have the reaction on TV where they, duck and weave. They freeze. And science backs this up. Many people, when someone points a gun right at them, they freeze. Deer in the headlights. Deer in the headlights. Frozen. It is a natural response to some overwhelming dangers to become paralyzed. That's just being human. But we're going to have to wake up and do something. And I'll tell you what those choices for us are. I just told you what the 3 things to get rid of Trump are. I'll tell you our 3 choices when we come back. And I'll read the chat. Yes, Lord. All right.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
By the way, do you love my view of the Las Vegas Strip behind me? I took all this footage yesterday. This view behind me right now is from a place called The Overlook. And it's across from the Cosmo and all of that. Later on in the show, you'll see Bellagio and Caesar's Palace and Paris Hotel. That's if I did it right. We'll see if I did. So what are our options? Well, as I told my sister, number 1, you can, and you're going to be opposed to this. You're going to say, well, Karel, that's not right. Stop going on social media and stop reading the news. Or use a news feeder that will filter out the keyword Trump. And just don't read. And look, if a big event happens, if, he declares martial law or whatever, you'll hear about it. Stop following the news. Stop looking, stop talking about issues. We have a gun pointed at us. We are paralyzed. How do we get back in motion? You get out of the way of the gun. So the first thing to do is either stop paying attention to what he is doing because you cannot change it and it infuriates you. We can't do a goddamn thing until November. Well, October. Support a candidate in October, vote for them in November. That's about all we can do. We cannot change the minds of the people in Congress. We cannot go to D.C. and physically remove them. We can't make the military not follow the illegal orders. We're like the Jews in Germany. There's nothing we can do. We are paralyzed in that sense. This shows how little power the people really have. So, unless you are mega wealthy and can get your viewpoint out there, there's nothing we can do. Podcasters for decades have been telling you what's wrong, what's happening, what's coming, and it happened. I have been on radio 35 years telling you all these horrible things, and these horrible things have still happened. Okay? Lawmakers, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, they told us exactly what was going to happen, and it happened. Because not even they can stop it. So, first of all, exit out of your life. Ignore it. Turn it off. Don't listen. And just live with the repercussions. Number 2, sell everything you own, every piece of everything, and take what little money you have and find a place in the world that you can afford. A lot of you say, well, I'm on a very, very fixed income. Do you know there are some countries where $1,500 a month you can live like a king? Now, you may not want to live there, but see, then you're going to have to decide. Look, Sibylle, she's a friend now, but long-term listener, she moved. She is in Switzerland. She moved back. She was from there, and they moved back. It was a nightmare for her. It is a nightmare for her. And as soon as Trump is gone, she wants to come back. She doesn't, it's expensive, and, as great as that country is, and it's great. She tells me all these great things about the country. She would prefer to live back in either Northern California or Arizona or whatever, because it was a logistical nightmare. Health insurance, car insurance, all the things, everything about everyday life, doctors, everything changed in an instant. And it's a lot, particularly if you're old. So if you are stuck here in this country, if you cannot leave, then paying attention to everything that man does is only going to drive you insane and make you miserable. So if you are trapped here, then maybe it's time we all pivot away from watching it and just hope we don't die. And I mean that. Hope that another country doesn't invade us, that he doesn't send troops to our city, that they don't arrest me for being a podcaster or being gay. Just hope. Stay low. And because I don't want to live this way anymore, and neither do you. I don't want to live mad every single day because no one is stopping this man. And the people that can, the military, the billionaires, or the Congress, won't. So if the only people in the world that can stop him, other military leaders, the military, Congress, or the billionaires, if they won't stop him, we can't. So what do? We are in an abusive relationship. We are battered spouses. Now you see why so many battered spouses stay in the relationships. So many of you see these battered people, battered spouses in relationships and go, well, I would leave. I wouldn't stay. Really? Really? This is a prime example of how and why people stay in battered relationships. Our country is beating the shit out of us. It's taking our money. It's not giving us anything back in return. Our roads are falling apart. Our infrastructure's falling apart. Everything is about corporate greed. No one is stopping the corporations from making record profits while we go backwards financially. 12% of us are doing okay. 12%. They're making more. They're millionaires. 88% of us are not. 88% of us are having the shit beat out of us every single day, and we have to stay living with our abuser because we have no choice. Where would we go? Women and men now have battered shelters. We need a battered American shelter in another country. And that's what amnesty programs are. That's what refugee programs in other countries are. Therefore, when people in one country are in an abusive relationship with that country and have to get out, our Constitution is being shredded. We are being abused by the federal government. It is not protecting our water. It is not protecting our air. It is not protecting our land. It is not protecting our ability to buy a home, our ability to have a car and drive or have transportation. It's not doing anything for us at all, but taking our money. We are in an abusive relationship. And now you know why they stay.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karelcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karelcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karel Cast. Driving you home or driving you crazy.
Now it's your time.
All right. By the way, it's changed behind me. See, now we're at the fountains at Bellagio. Isn't that beautiful? I love my new background. I love my new little graphics. I love it all. All right, look, first let's go to the chat room at youtube.com/ReallyKarel, see what the chatters have to say. I'm going to find a way to get the chat live on the screen here very soon. Let's see. It starts local. Run for school board or city council. No, it doesn't. I know that you think that that's the answer. It's not. That's not going to change anything. Oh, it might change a little something in your area, but, you know, it's not going to change the national policy. What good's being on a school board if the federal government... Look, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting went out of business today. Okay? So if you're on a school board and the school board gets an edict from above that says it has to do this or it has to do that, you're not going to stop that from happening. So no, I hate to say that, but yes, you can still get your Social Security in Europe. Yes, you can. We have reciprocal agreements. So, look, I was reminded today that there's so much else to think about. For instance, I have a moral dilemma, and I have to solve it today. And maybe you guys would like to give me your input. When I did the song, I Dance Because, when I wrote it, I was right in front of my television, dancing to Apple Fitness Plus with the fitness gurus there, with LaShawn and Ben and whatever his name is, the Hispanic gay guy. And, you know, I want to say Tony, but I don't think that's his name. And, you know, dancing with them. And when they dance to hits from the 80s, because I'm moving and my endorphins are flowing, I always, every time, John is his name, always start crying. Because I always look around my room at pictures of Lorenzo, pictures of Daniel Charleston, pictures of Andrew, and remember how Andrew and I danced countless times at clubs, Daniel Charleston and I, Lorenzo and I, and they're now gone. So when I wanted to do the video, I said, I wish I had footage of me and Andrew, me and Lorenzo, and me and Daniel dancing that I could put in the video to pay tribute to them because they're the ones that I wrote the song for. Well, with AI, I can. So for $500, which I don't have, I put it on my PayPal credit, I hired a person from Fiverr that does AI music videos, and said, here's the treatment, here's what I want. I want you to recreate 80s nightclubs, gay nightclubs, and I want you to put me and Andrew and Lorenzo and Daniel all in these 80s dance clubs, even though Daniel was too young at that time, dancing and having a good time, as if I had footage from that era. Last night, I saw the characters that he created. The me character, the Andrew, the Daniel, the Lorenzo. When it first popped up on the screen, when Andrew first popped up dancing with me, not only did I cry, but somehow it felt wrong. It seemed like I was bringing him back to life. It seemed weird to me because I'm old. And all of a sudden I thought, is this right? Should I be reanimating my dead friends? Now look, if I had footage from that era, I would use it without the shadow of a doubt. If I had actual video footage of me dancing with Andrew, me dancing with Lorenzo, me dancing with Daniel, I would use it if no questions asked. But to recreate that, because I don't have the footage, to recreate it with AI, part of me says, yes, this is a great use of AI. This is one of the things it does well. You know, I'm recreating history. I did dance with them back in the 80s and 90s, you know, and so this is just recreating a time that I didn't have video for.
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes, at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
You know, I almost want to sit to the side so you can see the strip behind me. Isn't the Eiffel Tower gorgeous? Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Anyway, so the first thing I thought of was, is this going to hurt Jake and Heather? If they see a video of mine and I'm in it with Andrew and he's alive all of a sudden, you know, is this going to hurt them? Now, I'm not bringing them into the present, by the way. It's not like I'm creating an AI video of me and Andrew doing a talk show in today's world. Because with AI now, Karel and Andrew could come back. I could feed all of his voice into AI. I've got tons of recordings of his voice. I could feed his voice into AI, create a script, and have a Karel and Andrew podcast. I'm not doing that. That would be weird. I am recreating a period, the 80s and the 90s, of us dancing because I can. And Heather, my niece, you know, said she has no problem with that at all. You know, and she's Andrew's niece biologically. And she said, I have no problem with that at all. I have not heard from my nephew yet. Now, I know his sister would hate it. But I am the executor of the estate still, so I have control of Andrew's likeness. What would Andrew think? I'm of two schools of thought. The first school of thought, he would say, I'm dead. I don't care what you fucking do. You know, do whatever you want. I'm dead. I don't care. That's the first school of thought. The other school of thought is, no, do not bring me back to life after I'm dead to dance in your damn video. Leave me alone. Let me be dead. So I have a moral dilemma. I really want this video. Or, well, and it's just going to be clips, by the way. It's not like a whole 4 minutes of us all dancing. But I really want these clips. I want these clips to put in my video as an homage to the people that have gone before me, like in Longtime Companion at the end of the movie when they all are on the beach and suddenly all the dead friends of AIDS are all there on the beach. It's the same thing. I'm doing the Longtime Companion ending. I'm just using AI to do it. So his niece is like, no, go ahead, do it. It's great. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful to see. My friend Hannah said, no, don't do it. Do not. Don't, you know, no. Other friends have been like, oh, I don't know. And this is such a new world problem. You know, this is such a new world problem. Now, there are people online right now taking pictures with Freddie Mercury and posting them, live videos of them standing next to dead stars. There's this app, there's a filter now where you can do your selfie and you'll have a famous dead celebrity or a living celebrity next to you. People are doing it with Marilyn Monroe and Elvis Presley and Freddie Mercury and, you know, and they're alive and they're on stage and they're waving high. And so it's not such a big sin, but it bothers me. You know, it bothers me. Someone said you should dance with the living. The video is about dancing with the dead. Don't act like we don't all carry ghosts with us, please, because we do. AI is just now allowing us to bring our ghost into reality. You all have ghost. All of you deal with ghost. You hear what your partner would have said in your head, or you go somewhere that the two of you went together and you feel their presence there. We all have ghost. This is just bringing those, and what would be different about this if I had the actual footage? If I actually had footage of me in the 80s dancing with Lorenzo that I then used in this video, no one would have a problem with that. It's like a flashback. So now I'm doing a flashback. I'm just using AI to create the flashback. It's an event that really happened. We really did dance together in the 80s. See, it's a moral dilemma. It truly is. I'm probably going to do it. I am. I'm probably going to do it. Daniel Charleston he'd want to be in my video. He'd totally be like, yes. And I called his lifelong best friend Brandon and said, do you think Daniel would want to be in my video? He goes, of course, he loved you. And he'd want to, and he'd say, yes, go ahead, use my ghost. Lorenzo, the same thing. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt. He'd say, yes, girl, I'll dance when I'm dead. Why not? So I know both of them would have wanted to do it. Andrew, even though I knew him better than anyone on the planet, I don't know how he'd feel about it. I think he'd say, I'm dead, do what you want. But the other part of me would say, no, leave me rest. Don't do this. But he loved technology and he loved filmmaking. And so, AI is going to bring back people through, in film. I mean, someday Marilyn Monroe is going to do a cameo. So, and it's going to happen. We can fight it all we want, but it's going to happen. That's what I spent last night thinking about. Should I just change the faces of the characters and just have them be generic-looking gay guys from the 80s? Or use the images of my friends who I wrote the song for? It's an interesting dilemma. It is a very interesting dilemma. I would be horrified if I saw my dad doing something he never did on AI. Well, that's what I'm saying. This is not something they never did. I danced with Andrew almost every night of the week. I danced with Daniel almost every night of the week. I danced with Lorenzo almost every night of the week. This is not something that they've never done. We used to go dancing all the time. We just didn't have cameras back then. So I'm recreating that era, that time, the 80s, with AI. It's not like I have them doing things they never would have done or never did. They did these things with me. So, I don't know. Could we do an AI Last Supper? Yes. How would you feel about that? How would you feel if they did an AI Last Supper and you saw the apostles walking around, you saw Jesus, you saw them all up, walking around, doing their thing? I mean, the Last Supper's been in countless movies. And why is this different than if I hired actors that look like Andrew, look like Lorenzo, look like Daniel, and then filmed us dancing together on a set that looked like the 80s? How would that be different than AI creating the image? You see the dilemma as a filmmaker? If I had a budget for this video, I'd hire actors that look like them and go dance in a club. But how is that different from having AI create them? No matter what, it's not going to be them. Whether it's an actor or AI, it's not going to be them. So how is it different? Wow. I am not fabricating a false memory. Babetta says you're fabricating a false memory. I am not. We danced together in clubs from 1980 up until each of them died. Together. That is not a fabricated memory. It is a real scenario that happened. Now, the only thing that didn't happen is Daniel dancing with me and Lorenzo. Me, Andrew, and Lorenzo certainly went out dancing. Absolutely. All over the place, from Hawaii to New York. Me and Andrew and Lorenzo, we danced at many a club. So the three of us have danced together, dined together, had a fabulous time together. Daniel wasn't in the picture yet. He was not born yet. So he was in the late 90s and the 2000s. Well, actually, 2010 on. So, but I'm not fabricating a memory. It's a real memory. I'm recreating a real memory using AI. It's just that the memory has dead people in it. So it'd be like you recreating your 5th birthday. You know, having AI create your parents and your siblings, and let's say you had a party. It'd be like you recreating that with AI. You're not recreating a fake memory. You're just recreating a memory you don't have photos of. You don't, and that's how they created the characters, by the way. I have photos of me and Andrew out at clubs. I have photos of me and Daniel Charleston out. I have photos of me and Lorenzo out. I just gave those photos, and that's what they're creating the AI from. So they're creating a scene from a real memory. Oh, it's such a complex issue. It's such just a real complex issue. So I don't know what to do. I don't know. I think I'm going to do it, see if I like it, and then use it or not use it. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. Because, and maybe, see, all of us are old. Most of you commenting in the chat room are over 40. To a young person, this is a no-brainer. They'd be like, yeah, go ahead, of course. But to us older people, we think, oh, no. Do you know in Japan right now, they sell a thing for your desk where you can talk to your dead loved one? I'm making this up. They've created an AI avatar for your grandmother or your husband or whatever. Then they've taken their voice and put it in AI. And now you can sit and have a modern day conversation with your dead loved one. This is happening. It already exists. The technology to talk to your dead loved one already exists. And people are using it. And they say it's giving them comfort. I wouldn't do that. And that's not what I'm doing. I'm not having them say anything. I'm not even having them in the present. The video is all set in the past. So I think with AI, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. Like, how is it being used? If you're using it to bring a dead person into the present and have present conversations with them, no. Like I said, I could literally do a Karel and Andrew podcast. I could. That would be creepy. I wouldn't do it, and it could be creepy. But to create a video of us dancing in the past, something we actually did, that's different than creating a video of us doing a modern day podcast talking about Donald Trump. There's a difference there. So it really is about the nuance, I think. I really do. It really is a first world problem. But, it's going to happen. And all of you saying, oh, fuck AI and fucked up AI. You know what? You're railing against something that's going to happen and is happening. You can either adapt to it, learn it, and learn how to use it, or be left in the dirt. It's really up to you. But it's like with Trump. The notion that you're going to stop AI from overtaking most industries is ridiculous. So why don't you ignore Trump the way you're ignoring AI? Why don't you refuse to buy into Trump the way you're refusing to buy into AI? You can't stop either. They're going to happen. Well, they're happening. It's happened. I am looking at photos of Andrew on a dance floor in the 80s where it didn't exist. Those photos aren't real. It's happened. You can fight it or you can adapt it to your life and use it. My images every day, my thumbnail for the show every day is created by AI. Every day. Every thumbnail for the show, I tell it what the show is about. It creates the graphic. I don't have to go into Photoshop anymore and do all that. It does it. Is that wrong? No. It's made my life with the show much, much easier. I write the description of my show every single day. And then I have AI refine it using keywords and things optimized for the algorithm. Is that wrong? No. I'm using technology to help my show. You can either adapt or become a dinosaur. You know, I use AI to help me write music. The music for I Dance Because was, I don't want to say it was written by AI, but we got a top line from AI, and then I gave that to a human who then made a song out of it. But it sparked the melody. I used it as a spark. Is that wrong? To some people, maybe. So you can't fight AI. It's here. And it's only going to spread. You know, yesterday I was at the dermatologist.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on air. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
Okay, so yesterday I was at the dermatologist and waiting in the lobby. I was about to leave because now I have a 30-minute rule. If I'm on time for a doctor's appointment or a little early, 30 minutes from when my appointment was, if I'm not in the back, I reschedule, unless it's urgent. I refuse to be kept waiting longer than 30 minutes. It's disrespectful, and I refuse to be disrespected. And yesterday I went up to reschedule. My appointment was 2:45. At 3:15, I went up and said, "We'll need to reschedule. Your doctor is obviously too busy to see me." And just then, they called me back. And I told the doctor I was leaving. I said, because it's disrespectful to leave me sit for 30 minutes. But what I noticed in the lobby was every person, and there were 12 people, every person, they had a TV on, home and garden TV, some of these makeover shows, nobody watching it. Every person in the lobby, everyone, young or 70 years old, was on their phone. Every person. It was sad to me. It was very, very sad. Here at my complex, when we do our nightly, well, now it's our afternoon mile walk, there's a lovely neighbor that I have, and they live, I think it's mom and daughter and granddaughter together. And every day at 4 when I walk by, the mom and the daughter are on the patio having a cigarette and, and they're both always on their phones. They're sitting 2 feet across from each other and they're not talking to each other. They're on their phones. And I thought, well, maybe they talk enough inside. Maybe this is their only quiet time to check their phones. I don't know their situation. But every time I see 2 people together and they're both on their phones, it makes me sad. Now, they could be listening to me, but it still makes me sad. But I can't undo that. There is nothing short of an EMP that's going to take out all of our electronics that are now going to undo this, people staring at their phones. Now, you and I may choose not to do it. I don't look at my phone all the time. You may choose not to. You may still choose to engage in conversation. But most people nowadays are tied to their phones. It's sad, but it's the way it is. AI is going to be the same way. People are going to be using, and by the way, AI is horrible. Some kid typed into AI, how much kratom, Kratom, can I take to get a good high? It told him what it thought. He took that much and he died. So we've had a kid overdose on a drug that AI told him was safe. And I don't believe ChatGPT all the time. I don't take everything it says as a fact because oftentimes it gets it wrong. Because remember, it's just regurgitating what it has learned. And it could learn, just like MAGA, AI is MAGA. It really is. MAGA regurgitates what they hear, what they've learned. That's all they do. They don't know the whys or the hows or whatever. They just regurgitate what they've heard and what they've read. That's all AI does. It just throws up what it's learned from the internet. And as we know, there's a lot of stuff out there that ain't true. So if you train the model on something that's not true, it's going to regurgitate what's not true. A kid is dead because ChatGPT said, no, it's okay to take that much, and it wasn't. And he's dead. Now, you could call him stupid. What was he doing taking an illegal drug? And on and on and on. I don't think kratom is illegal. I think they sell it at liquor stores. But the question becomes, when AI is everywhere and it's wrong, what do we do? My moral dilemma is a simple one. Do I recreate footage from the past of things that we actually did with the people that I actually did them with? And that's the question. Do I recreate images from or videos from the past with people that were actually there doing the things that we're actually doing, dancing? Do I recreate using AI a scene from the past of dancing with my friends, something we actually did? That's my moral dilemma. But nowadays, they create whole people. There are artists charting on Spotify that aren't real. The music was written by AI and the character was generated by AI. They're not real musicians. They're singing songs that were written by a machine and they are machine created. That's a whole lot different than using the technology to recreate a scene from the past. What if I were making a movie about the founders and I used AI to recreate the signing of the Declaration of Independence? Why would that be a horrible thing? Because that's really what I'm doing. I'm using it to create a past event. People that use it to create present, like whole new people that aren't real people with music that isn't real music. But I'm telling you, there's going to come a time in 5 years where you are not going to know if the artist you're watching on screen is real or AI. You're not going to know. Oh, you can search it and find out and then decide whether or not you're going to watch them. But there's going to be a lot of AI on television, movies, and music. And there's nothing we can do about that. And what's worse, in 20 years, that'll be normal. That'll be completely normal. In 20 years, you'll be able to say, show me my first birthday party. And you'll be able to watch a video of you and your family at your first birthday party, all of it AI. That's going to happen. Now, you may not choose to do it, but it's going to happen. So we'll see what I decide. We'll see. Feeling raw about the recent untimely death of an 87-year-old friend. I want to remember her just as she was, but recreate her. But yeah, my situation doesn't match this. Chips in baby's brain soon after birth will replace phones. Yes, I fully agree. I am Karel. You be who you want to be, so I don't hurt you, buddy. Honey, we're on a merry-go-round. Where we stop, nobody knows, right? That's life. That's who we are.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karelcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karelcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karelcast on your favorite streaming service.